Call the meeting to order. Everyone please stand and recite pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Ashley, can I have a roll call, please?
Fisher.
Here.
Briggs. Cavalier.
Here.
Bracken.
Here.
Lott.
Here.
Alt. Here. Kidman. Here. Shostel.
Here.
Okay, it's time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address the council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first, last name, and address, please.
Hello, my name is Bishop Preston. I live at 314 Leonard Avenue. I'm here to just re-adjourn what I had started a couple council meetings back. Three major concerns is a lack of representation to the public here out of this chamber. We're pushing through business that doesn't have a charted plan after it's already been started in order to push compliance, but we're not giving the same respect to other businesses when it comes to low-level THC permits. That seems very odd to me. This chamber seems pretty biased on the topic when it's already state approved and it's already county approved. It's a lack of representation and also negligent on the chamber's part for not allowing these things to conduct accordingly to what's been laid out. So that's first concern. Another concern is spending out of a chamber that approved a facility on the edge of town to process food that does not process food yet. That is essentially the city's burden. I don't understand how the city feels so inclined to make business decisions so readily too for other businesses, especially new businesses or businesses that have been established that are trying to fall into accord. It's a concern on representation overall, and I feel like it needs to be said. Third, the stigma behind low-level THC in this community is kind of laxed in the sense of, for a lot of years, it was the answer for the sober ride. The drunks would rely on people who were low-consuming marijuana users for safe rides in the past, and now all of a sudden there's this stigma where maybe you get yourself around. That could be dangerous in the future. These are all things that I think you folks need to consider going forward. Also, May 16th was National Learn How to Swim Day. I would like to just thank Carol and Fit and Fin in general for their efforts towards our pool and the severity and necessity of learning how to swim in a river community. And my last and final conclusion to my little speech here for you folks in this chamber is please note that we are watching. Your absence is critical in times of open forum and discussion here in this chamber, and seeing a great level of absence out of councilmen and women is a shame. And so I hope that changes here going forward. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. No presentations. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda?
You regarding the consent agenda?
This is the regular.
The regular agenda. This is to approve the agenda.
Yep, versus agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? You're looking to pull something, Joseph, it'd be under the consent.
Yes, thank you.
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Bracken.
Aye.
Lott.
Aye.
Alt.
Aye.
Kidman.
Aye.
Shostel.
Aye.
Okay, brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to remove item 6.02, resolution to approve city of Crookston's growth disbursements.
Okay. Anyone else? Have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Thank you, Joseph, Clayton. Second by Henry. Roll call, please.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Bracken.
Aye.
Lott.
Aye.
Alt. Aye. Kidman.
Aye.
Shostel.
Aye.
Okay, no public hearings, brings us to the regular agenda. Ashley, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution approving a cannabis lower potency hemp edible retail license for MPT Enterprises doing business as Best Buy Liquors.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this
So
resolution?
move, Your Honor.
Don and Henry. Thank you. Discussion. Should we bring Tanner into the mix? Or?
Yeah, Your Mayor, this resolution is back in front of council for further discussion. I'm going to turn it over to City Attorney Tanner Bolton for.
Just real quickly, then, in terms of procedurals and Robert rules, usually when a motion is brought back again, when the item is not changed, then it's a reconsideration of the motion, and those people who had previously voted yes would be the ones to actually bring that forward. So in this case, Wendy or Morgan would be the ones who actually would reconsider the motion. Any people who had said no wouldn't be able to bring that forward.
So do I need to say I'll bring it forward?
Yes. You would say reconsider.
So usually a motion for reconsideration is when a motion is in the same meeting. There's
Or
not.
a future meeting.
Okay, I mean, I guess I've always interpreted it to be at the same meeting, but if you want to proceed that way, that I guess satisfies that.
I'll make the motion to reconsider.
Second.
Second by Derek. Now discussion.
All right. So I've spoken to the league on this as well. Really the only role the city has at this point in voting on this ordinance is whether or not it meets our ordinances restricting where these types of licenses are permitted. There's nothing with regard to, we can't just say no because we don't necessarily agree with this type of business. We need to tie it to some legitimate zoning regulation that we have passed indicating that they can't be in this location. So for example, if our ordinances prohibited them from operating in a residential area, that could be grounds for voting no on this. But outside of those zoning restrictions, we can't vote no on these types of registrations. In fact, if we do, not only do we face potential lawsuits from the business, the state of Minnesota can also pursue action against us. And some cities have indicated that local government aid is sometimes threatened or on the table. I would note that when I spoke to the League of Minnesota Cities, I think the day after this vote, they pointed me to Albert Lee, where their attorney indicated the potential loss of local government aid, which I understand to be about 30% of our income. So there is a lot at risk here. We can still vote no. If we vote no, I just need you to be aware that it's a potential battle. It's probably going to be not just my firm involved, but a different firm that is would try to seek to make this law deemed unconstitutional. That's largely the avenue that we'd be able to pursue. Through that process, there is the potential threat that government aid could be taken from us. I know you've probably seen that there's actually a bill in place right now that's saying some cities might lose local government aid simply because they are not flying the new flag. This could be on the same lines, potential of losing that local government aid. And again, regardless of the local government aid threat, we could face lawsuits. Really the chance of prevailing at those lawsuits is pretty low. We'd have to get an order somewhere indicating that this law as enacted is not constitutional and can't be enforced. While that's not impossible, I would say it's extremely unlikely and in any event, extremely costly. Again, likely not going to be my firm that handles it completely, but that's why I asked that this be brought back in front of you for consideration with a fuller council group here. Again, you can still vote this down, but there's a substantial risk of doing so. Thanks.
Thanks, Tanner.
Thanks, yeah.
Further discussion?
If I understand this correctly, so local governments are required to have this if they have at least 12,500 residents, is that right?
That's incorrect. So,
No, that's right.
I think what you're thinking of is the actual TSC, the flower product, which would be smokable. This is, low potency hemp. We cannot restrict the amount of businesses in the city for low potency. Now, if it was the THC or the flower product, state statute says we would have to allow one up to 12,500 residents, meaning City of Crookston would have to allow one or countywide. Depending on the population there. Correct, per 12,500 residents.
And we don't have that many residents.
No, but that's not what they're asking for.
It would be up to.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So this does not apply. The state says we cannot limit the amount of lower potency hemp retailer license in each municipality.
You know, I know, so Bishop, you spoke on behalf of this, you came up a minute ago. Not that I'm calling you now. I haven't heard any requests from my ward, you're in my ward, saying that they would actually support this. I have heard the opposite of that.
Does
So,
your ward conduct monetary exchange and business to this level? I believe there's one site in your ward that this would fall to, being Pride. Maybe even the gift shop at the hospital in the future, sadly, but common. So that being said, I think we saw your stance on it twice in a row. I think we're a little past seeking your public representation on this and would seek that you follow the accord of others on what is known. The information that is known is that this is low-level THC products, and these low-level THC products need a place that is tracked and monitored, or it is a future risk, and it is city negligence. That is what has been deemed by the state of Minnesota. Not by me, not by people's opinions here locally or outside, but what we need to do is being a part of the state of Minnesota. We can sit in a bubble as a community of Crookston for as long as we want, but eventually the bubble pops. And there's no going back once it pops. It's bad. Businesses get targeted.
Enough.
Major point,
And
thank
I
you.
mean, also, these places are in my ward, and they're honestly, I'm okay with them, like, versus people drinking alcohol, and I feel like drinking alcohol is gonna be a bigger problem in my ward versus them having low-level 5 milligram THC gummies. Like, I think that's gonna be easier for the police and everybody.
Well, you know, we got ordinance out there, we allow alcohol and cigarettes, and they're just as damaging
Oh,
as
yeah.
anything else, so.
I think it also comes down to, we don't get to debate whether it's
Yeah.
healthy or not healthy or safe or not safe. The state has said that we have to pass this as long as it fits our ordinances, and it fits the ordinances that we currently have.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
I think it should
Exactly.
be easy pass.
Let's call for the vote, please.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Bracken,
Aye.
Flott,
Aye.
Alt, Himma,
Aye.
Chastel.
nay,
Motion carries. Okay, moving on.
Item 8.02 is a resolution regarding the approval of a one-year Cash Farm Lease Agreement with BTB Farms, our owner.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this
So
resolution?
move, Your Honor. Second.
Second by
Derek.
Derek. Lon made the first, thank you. Discussion.
Your Honor, as stated in the resolution, the infrastructure in phase 2 of the Minnesota Northern Railroad spur is not scheduled to occur in 2026, actually in early or late 2027. So to avoid expenses and maintenance costs associated with mowing and obnoxious weed control, the city would like to enter into a one-year lease, as we have in previous years with B2B, to lease that property on a one-year lease.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Good.
So I thought they were starting that this year. They're not starting it this year?
Phase 2 of the railroad spur.
Oh, phase 2, okay. Sorry.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Bracken,
Aye.
Lot.
Aye.
Alt. Aye. Hibble. Aye. Shostel.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.03 is a resolution regarding the approval of the Crookston Community Pool Mural project, Your Honor.
Thank you. And I have a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Second by Joseph. Thank you. Discussion?
Yeah, again, Your Honor, local artist and Fit and Fin board member Trey Everett has volunteered his time and artistic services to design and paint a mural on the exterior wall of the swimming pool. This will be at no cost to the city of Crookston. Fin and Fit have agreed to cover all material costs associated with the project. This mural also went through the Crookston Park Board. It was reviewed, and the proposed mural that is attached in your packets was unanimously recommended for approval. It will be presented to council for final approval.
Thank you. Further discussion?
This is great. Thank you, Trey, for doing this. It's a big deal.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Brecken.
Aye.
Lot.
Aye.
Alt. Aye. Hibble. Aye. Shostel.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.04 is a resolution regarding authorizing an emergency sanitary sewer main repair on North Front Street, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
I'll second.
Henry and Morgan, thank you. Discussion?
In Your Honor, the Public Works Department has identified a sanitary sewer main on North Front Street that is near failure and needs immediate or emergency repair. I guess I can turn it over to Public Works Director Chuck Getzman for further comment or discussion. We have had engineers help us with the proposed costs and repairs needed, all of which is currently budgeted in the 2026 budget under the sewer line replacement or sewer rehab line items, Your Honor. But I will certainly let Mr. Getzman explain in further detail what we got going on.
Yeah, just handing out some photos here that we want to snag off the analyzing we did. And so the immediate section is roughly 50 feet long. As you can tell in the photos, the one below is where you can see it kind of caving in on itself. We caught that during this year's televising and cleaning of that section of pipe. The entire section of pipe is roughly 380 feet, I believe, and that goes from, that's if we wanted to replace the entire section from manhole to manhole. It is 20-inch clay tile, and the last date I have for installing was in 1942. So the section above is still the same section, it's just further up. You see how it's supposed to look? Yeah. If this pipe,
1942.
what was that?
That's still from 1942.
So, yeah, we have a lot of clay tile in the city here that we're slowly trying to remove and get replaced. If this does collapse, it's going to cause a lot of issues with the residents, everything up north of it. Everything flows, almost everything flows through that line. So if that collapses, there's a lot of extra work that needs to go into it, more costs definitely. We'll have to get some pumps, emergency crews, and probably someone to monitor the bypass for the 24 hours that the pump is running, going from manhole to manhole.
So this is something we budgeted for 2020. This was budgeted for in 2026?
No, this particular incident wasn't budgeted for, but we were looking at getting it replaced.
We budget approximately between the sewer line replacement and sewer
Yeah.
rehab, about $375,000 a year. Cost to repair this would be about $100,000, so we have the funds available to pay for this.
Okay.
What's included in the scope of this? Is the water line also that old? What else under the street would
No,
be beneficial to?
the water line in this one, I didn't look up the date for when that was installed, but it's PVC. We have A2S here, I don't know, Eric, did you happen to know?
I actually don't think that the water main runs through that corridor. I
Okay,
think it's
okay.
the next block over.
84 years old.
So this would start ASAP then, as soon as possible?
Correct.
Yes, yep. We're gonna get it approved here. AE2S is gonna help us go out, get some contractors in, and then we're gonna try to get this settled as soon as possible because we don't wanna wait any longer with, possible collapse and then it's just turns into an emergency.
Is the estimate, is that from manhole to manhole, the 300 and
No,
some, or is that just that section?
That's just, I forget the exact length, maybe 60 feet or something like that.
Sure.
It's, removing the road, digging down, replacing that pipe, just that minimum length of pipe, it's about 65 feet, if I remember correctly.
We talked about going curb to curb
Yep.
with the road so that there wouldn't be any, oh, I'm sorry.
what's that?
You got this nice picture here, but
Yeah.
are we gonna have to replace some of that coming up, or is it just that?
Just this section for now, yeah.
Yeah, but we're not worried about the other section?
No, we're not worried about the other section. I mean, if we were able to do all of it, then yeah, we would do that.
Yeah.
But just for the immediate emergency response, we just want to take care of this section for now.
Do you know what the cause of it was?
Do not, there is some, we're thinking there's some, what do you want to call it? Ground fluctuation, just the age of the pipe. If you go over to the area right now, you can actually see a divot forming. So if there is water getting in there, it's possibly washing away the clay, which is gonna be dumping into that sewer line. So we have infiltration, yeah, it's gonna be.
So is it like an intersection, or like what's the spot?
It's right before, is it Sheridan and the Grant?
Okay.
Right on the corner.
It's,
of Grand.
yeah, right by that big house on the corner of Grant.
The oldest house in Crookston. And they were gonna, the plan was to go curb to curb.
Yes.
The road. That way it'd be full reconstruct instead of a partial or have some road issues down there. And I believe roughly from manhole to manhole it was like over 500,000. At this point, that's why we were talking about going to the 50 or 60 feet.
So the photographs were done after you saw the dip, you didn't do all the pipes in terms of doing video, right? It was just this section?
No, we did that area of town.
Okay.
Yep.
So
That's just the one spot that's.
Yes. Yep.
Is there any, Chuck, relation to where it was dug up on the hill on North Front, on the incline?
No, that's further down.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that was a water leak that turned into a bigger issue. Yeah, all of a sudden we noticed that there was a sewer line break too.
Okay.
So we had to jump from side to side to fix everything.
Further discussion?
Is it open for public?
I'm not sure. Fine.
I recently had a water main break near my house at the end of the alley I live at. It's probably the 6th one since I've moved in the last 4 years in a 4-block radius. Now, I can't help but to think a lot of these water main breaks are occurring because of the city's practices with clearing the alleyways and roads. I've caught in my alley alone 2 huge pieces of excavating equipment on gravel coming in and out of alleyways into residential streets. These roads are graded for a weight limit. And if the city is diminishing these roads through its practices to either cut corners or due to available equipment, I mean, we have a greater problem on our hands here, and it's stemming from the city's practices. So that being said, I think there should be definitely some insight looked into as to what's being used and why it's being used, and how many of it can actually be tied to these problems. Because like I said, I saw 2 huge pieces of machinery go through my back gravel alley. I know those roads are not graded for that level of weight. And that's causing infrastructure problems underneath, past just your typical ground movement for this region. Thanks.
Chuck, we don't have any water or sewer running down alleys, it's all on the streets.
They come in and out of the alley.
It depends which area of town you're in. So some areas we have, the sewer running through the alleyways.
I also think Jeff gave us a good map of, there's a lot of stuff we need to get replaced on. Alright.
Yeah, we're gonna revisit the AE2S CIP that was produced, and we're gonna go through and kinda check out more of the areas, reassess, and see if we need to move anything up.
That study is complete, all that assessment and all our streams.
Yep. So right now, we're just gathering more data and using the information from our CIP to help move forward on grants and different funding, things like that.
That's rated from worst to good or worst to bad?
Yeah, I wanna say it's color rated.
There's a lot of red.
Yeah, there's a lot of red. Yep.
All right, thank you. Further discussion?
Sure.
Roll call, please.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Brecken,
Aye.
Lot,
Aye.
Halt, Bima.
Aye.
Trustel.
Okay, motion carries.
Right.
Quick question, Chuck.
Yes.
I mean, ASAP to get this done, but I mean, with a long weekend, nothing's gonna happen this week.
No, I don't think so. As far as, we still have to go out for bid, right? Or not for bid, but, get a hold of a couple different contractors to see who's available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll send out a notice to everybody.
All right, thanks.
8.05 is remove items. 6.02, a resolution to approve the City of Crookston bills and disbursements in $321,715.05. Check number 77067 through 77168, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Morgan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Discussion.
I had a few questions regarding this. I'll be quick. When I refer to one, do you want me to do it by vendor number? Would that
Would
be
you be
easier?
able to do a check number, please?
Is that the check, okay, I see the check number on the right there, second column from the right.
Check.
077067,
So 07767,
yeah, $50,000 plus. Fargo Glass and Paint, if you could just elaborate on what that is for. It's $50,000 and $575. I'll just say, as you're looking for that, going through this, and we do this, looking through the list of expenses, what we paid out, I find that it would be helpful to know how much money is still available in what's been budgeted in that area. So when I look at amounts, it's nice to know that as well. That's not presented in here. I don't know if that's possible, but it makes a difference in how I take a look at something. Or else it just seems like a series of numbers, right?
So again, I would love to have this readily available, but I grabbed it from one of my coworkers' desks, so this is probably, and it was in 4 different piles, so I can go up there and grab it, but I have the rest of them, and again,
Well,
he has it in vendor, so pretty much what I can do is I can get you that information.
that'd be great.
Um,
So maybe I could just highlight a few others and then at a later time, you can get that information back to me.
Yes, that would be amazing, and that would have
Somebody
definitely
else?
helped, yes, so.
I mean, I guess too, if you got, looking through, what we're paying out in bills, it'd be nice if you've got some issues to come in during the day, if possible. I know we've had this discussion before. It's
I know, but
Friday, but
Or an email would be wonderful, so that we can have this prepared and ready for you.
it's,
That would
I understand where that comment's coming from. I just want to remind everyone in here that, you know, we get these very late on a Friday, and then there's the weekend to go over this. And then for many people in here, we're working full-time jobs. So it's just hard to, I completely agree with you. I would love to, but, you know, some things don't come up, percolate until the end here. But what we can do is I'm just going to highlight a few, and then at a later time, you could perhaps let me know what those are. That'd be great. But I think it's important to highlight some of these things, not just for me and the council, but also for the people who are listening today.
So, you know, looking over it to the weekend, if you got questions on some of the buildings, you know, maybe send an email out Saturday night, Sunday night, so it'd be available for us at Monday night's council.
I hear you, Mayor. Hear you. Doing the best I can.
Thank you.
But I did review it all.
Yes, I looked through them too. That's a good thing.
The other, so then item number 2 is regarding the Grand Forks fire equipment. So I'm assuming that this money is coming out of budget. Money's budgeted for
What's the check number?
putting forward towards the fire department, which we had approved. I'd just like to know, as we're going through this, how much money is still left in those accounts. We often talk about budget and how much we have, and kind of as a very general sense, but for me, it'd be helpful to know exactly where we are in each of those areas. And a perfect place to do that would be in a document like this.
Could you tell me what check number that is, please?
Actually, it's 077110, 077110. There are actually 1, 2, 3, 4 times that's actually listed out, and that would be a total of 32,000.
So it's
I'm pretty sure that turnout gear was a
right
approved
here.
capital improvement expenditure.
So my comment, it says there replace old damaged fire hose, 7 sets of turnout gear replaced, but I guess my issue here is noting where we are in that particular budget for that area, so that we have a strong sense in each of these areas.
Shane, do you remember if that turnout gear, I'm trying to pull up your CIP, was that the CIP item?
So for a little clarification on that, the one that you're looking at, the replacement of the 7 sets,
Right.
so that got ruined at a fire. That got turned into insurance. We had to get the bill to be able to turn into insurance, so we paid our $1,000 deductible. The rest of it was covered by insurance. So when the check got issued to Grand Forks Fire, that'll turn around and you'll see that accounts receivable, that we've gotten 22 of that back.
Thank you.
And then the other turnout gear purchase, that would have been the annual replacement. So that's why there's 2 on that, for that one.
That's helpful. Thank you.
So would you like me to still send you that?
No, Shane did a great job. 077122. Terms for vet services. I'm curious to know why we're paying out for veterinary services. What is it? Do we have animals in here?
So, how much is the dollar amount again?
077122.
Yeah, so this vet bill here, was through the Humane Society. It was approved for them to bring an animal in for euthanasia. In our current contract, the Humane Society, upon approval, we agreed to pay up to $150 of a vet bill. So per our contract, we agreed to pay for this for $128.
Thank you. My last one is 077138. 077138. Norman County Sheriff's Office anti-meth grant.
So what that is that's for the drug task force. It's these are we're the fiscal agent for the drug task force. So this is just payment through the city of Crookston for this anti-meth grant. However, if you recall, all the funds on the drug task force are state grant money. That's no money from the city of Crookston. We just proctor that grant funds.
And I'm bringing that up specifically because we just voted on hemp earlier. So that's a slippery slope, Bishop and others who don't understand that.
It's not.
address?
Stop Bishop, please.
Well, I mean, also don't address it.
Yeah.
May I continue?
Yes.
It's just, I think it's a slippery slope. In one hand, we work on, anti-meth, addictive drugs. On the other hand, hemp, which is considered low HLC, but, someone who's 21 can buy that. You can hand gummy bears over to a minor. And what's not stated is how one potentially non-lethal, non-addictive drug how that changes when something else is taken at the same time, or the quantities therein. And so I think it's interesting when you go down that route. So on one hand, here we are trying to prevent addiction. On the other hand, I think we're opening a door to our
Well, I mean, I
youngsters.
think that's just a
At the end of the day, it's an opinion and we have to follow the state.
It's a non-conversation. It's a non-conversation.
It's just a statement. Thank you.
Sometimes you gotta keep our personal stuff out of this and follow what the state is saying we can and cannot do. That's kind of the way it's at,
Exactly.
so. Any other items to be pulled, Joseph?
No, I'm good. Thank you,
Thank
Mayor.
you. All right, roll call, please.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs, Cavalier,
Aye.
Bracken,
Aye.
Lot,
Aye.
Paul. Aye. Vidma,
Hi.
Shasta.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, this brings us council reports. Anything else to add tonight, Darren?
Nothing else, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Don, anything?
Nothing right now, Your Honor.
Thank you. Gary?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Elaine?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Wendy?
Nothing for me.
Thanks. Morgan?
Pretty much other than have the park board meeting. And we heard about the painting, which was great to hear. And then also about all of the signups that we have for all of the activities this summer. And it sounds like the numbers are really great. I don't have them in front of me, but I know AROX published them. So glad to hear that that's going really well. So.
Thank you. Joseph?
Thanks, Trey. Great artist. I really appreciate you stepping forward to do this. We got funded through the cheater board, the ash tree, to stop, to delay the emerald ash borer going across the state to protect our 1 billion ash trees here. And then also thanks to the Crookston Baseball Association for donating over $4,000 to the city of Crookston.
Thank you. Henry?
Chuck's guys got our area all cleaned up, real nice with the street sweepers and stuff. Love this. We're at the bottom of the hole, so all looks real nice.
Thank you. Clayton?
Just something concerns with these electric bikes, I came very close to hitting one that went through a stoplight on Saturday night, very close. And they're going the wrong direction, going down the sidewalk, going through stop signs, I see them all over town, there's 3-4 that are doing it. Is there anything we can do about that?
Sure.
Put notices out, what the ordinance are,
Sure.
the laws, cars following traffic. Greatly appreciated. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also attended park board meeting, and then I think last week, 2 and the week before, we kind of met with Anchor Marketing, and we're kind of deciding what route to go on. That you have to sat with Darren and Kean and Morgan for some questions to ask this Anchor Marketing, but we'll see how it goes. Also, just a reminder, the CSC open house Wednesday night from 5 to 8 o'clock. We all got flyers here, and there's some activities on the river this summer, once a month, 3 months, in June, July, and August. So if you never been on the river, it's about an hour run. It's a whole different world out there.
I do have one thing, Your Honor.
Yes.
Joseph back at the comment on the Fargo pane glass for $50,000. So that was reimbursement through EDA for a small cities development program. Local business owner applied for that grant, was accepted. That was reimbursement back to that business owner on payment for those windows.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
That's all I have tonight. Just a reminder, we do have a Ways and Means meeting coming up shortly, so nothing else before council. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. 18, 2026. We got a few items on the agenda tonight. We're gonna start with City of Crookston Comprehension Plan. That would be Joe. Thank you for being here.
Joe.
Hi, everybody, good evening.
I know we have Wendy too, sorry.
Taylor.
Taylor.
Wendy over there.
Both here, Jess.
Let's all have the same word.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Sorry.
What's her name again?
So I know everybody's been anxiously awaiting a presentation on the comprehensive plan, a follow-up from the one I think was done last winter, December or January. So Joel Quanbeck from KLJ Engineering is here. He's a community planner, and he's been working with the city for a couple of years. A little bit longer than it would normally take, but by taking a little extra time, he was able to incorporate some planning information from other initiatives that were happening in the city, like the Active Transportation Plan and the Empowering Small Minnesota Communities work that's ongoing. So with that, I'll hand it over to Joel and let him present to you.
Thanks, Taylor. Good evening, everybody.
I guess before we get going, I gotta ask, I've been asking 1,000 times. I mean, we're gonna need this comp plan for our future development, if we got any developer interested in our community. So when are we actually gonna have this comp plan in our hands?
So after I hear your comments tonight, we will finalize the recommendations part of it. And you should have it available for you to be on your next planning commission agenda for a public hearing. And they should recommend it to you with whatever changes they recommend to your next council meeting after that for adoption.
Okay?
So that's the normal path that a comprehensive plan takes. Any other questions to start? Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Taylor highlighted a couple things that kind of slowed the process down. One of them was that we started with a kind of small set of things we wanted to accomplish, but then as we saw these other initiatives that were happening, it just seemed like they would be smart to include. And so it morphed quite a bit. And I am not going to spend a lot of time talking about details tonight because back, I think it was actually November when we presented before, we covered sort of the background information and where we were heading with things. So I would like to spend most of the time tonight talking about recommendations that are in the draft plan and make it interactive. If you have questions, if you have things that you basically say, no, I don't think we really want to do that, that's the kind of thing I'd like to hear tonight. But just to give you a little bit of refreshing and background, I am going to follow up on some of the things that we hit at the last time I was here. So first of all, this is a comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plans are long-range documents. They're not like strategic plans in the sense that you have like a 3 or 5 year time frame you're trying to accomplish everything on your bullet list. Some of these things that you may hear are things that you may not start for several years. But the idea is that you're creating a direction for you to go, that you want to make sure that you're making decisions that are consistent with that long-term direction. And the main thing I want to say about that first slide that we just passed is that state law encourages that your zoning be based upon a comprehensive plan. So that's what you see in the first major bullet there. But it's also about creating a vision for the future, and it's also something that we want to use. And one of the main reasons we kind of have stretched things out is so that we can incorporate initiatives, recommendations to help get to additional grants down the road. If we've got it in a plan, it makes it so it's an easier sell for getting grants. Next slide, please. Your population statistics, if you look at some demographic forecasts, some of them say, well, you're going downhill. Others say you're pretty stable. I have the perspective based on what I'm seeing from your existing population's age cohorts that you're in a pretty stable spot. So you've got a lot of younger families or people that are in that family formation and childbearing age. And I think if you look at your recent statistics from school, that it you should stay stable for at least for quite a while. That's, next slide. What we talked about last time was future land use plan. What you see on the slide up here is the existing land use plan on the left, and then on the right-hand side, a proposed, hand side, you see a proposed future land use plan. There are not a lot of changes to them, but I want to highlight a few things. If you look in the lower left, you'll see that there's a lot more purple down there. One of the things we recognize is that we are starting to run out of space for industrial development, and that was one of the things that we heard from multiple places in terms of setting aside land for future growth in the industrial area. Another thing that was sort of out there as an issue and a hopeful long-term change, if you look in the upper right above the sports center, you can see that in the on the existing land use, it shows green for agriculture, but we've changed it to kind of a taupe color, which means mixed use on the right. And we recognize there's some drainage issues, some potential flooding issues out there that have to be resolved, but in part because there's a lot of opportunity to do different things with that we don't want to pin ourselves down to yet. We're just calling it mixed use. One of the ideas that I heard at one meeting was, well, we've got that, the University of Minnesota Crookston's really involved in equine things. There's interest in horses and horse opportunities or horse-related opportunities around here. There may be some people who actually would like to see something tied to that and residences. Go ahead, sir.
I'm just looking, and the northwest part, there's a pretty big teal part underneath that red, and it's yellow on the right side. Can you tell me what the difference is there?
Yeah, so we go south of Fisher Avenue? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so, because there's a teal part.
Where the golf course would be?
Yeah, right around there, yeah, that's what I'm looking at, right in that spot.
Thank you for asking the question, but I think that's the area where we're looking at future residential development from the land where we were considering to acquire from the
That'd be the Diocese.
Okay,
That's what I think it is. It should be right below where the golf course is.
okay,
Next to the graveyard.
yeah.
So the larger industrial part, that's taking into consideration our current industrial and is making better use of it, or this is adding on to our,
It's adding on
what we
to
already
the
have,
area.
the that we're working on now with the railroad spur and all this. This is in addition to that.
Yep, that is. So we recognize that on the east side of 75, there's a project you're working right now, which is adding the spur. But this is south of there, two large tracks on either side of a railroad, or two large plots on either side of a railroad track that would be, we think, future potential.
Do you identify what type of industry?
Nope. Well, we're just leaving it wide open. I think that's one of those things when you get closer to needing it, you have to think about, well, what do we really want to use it for, and what kind of, especially what kind of tracts of land do you need? Do you need large tracts or small tracts? And that might influence how many roads you have to put in and where you want to put that development first. One of the other things that's different is you can see in the lower right, a large yellow square which represents land outside city limits that we talked about last time too as being a potential area for additional residential growth. And there's one of the things that's going on is, well, how can we encourage people to develop down in that part of the city? And I don't have the answers to that also, but I think that still makes sense to be a future area for residential growth. Those are the main things I wanted to point out to you. Next slide, please. There is another part to this, though, that shows up in the comprehensive plan, and that is thinking more long-term, what might be opportunities for additional future growth. Some of these have been brought up more than once, but if you look along the north side of Highway 2, coming to the east of Crookston, you'll see a large kind of reddish color. That's representing some potential future commercial or mixed-use development. Part of the idea is that, well, you're along a major corridor that has visibility, And if you need that kind of commercial growth, that might be a spot to put it. When I was looking at the transportation or the traffic counts, one of the things that showed up to me was that there's a lot of cross traffic cutting over from Highway 75 along the south side of the city and then hitting up to Highway 2. So what you see in the lower right is another red splotch, which is representing some additional commercial growth along that corridor. And then you'd see next to that the two purple tracks that I already mentioned that are showing up in the future land use plan with some extra explanation about why and how that might be used. And then just continuing clockwise up along the north side of the river, you can see some more purple. There has been at least one inquiry or maybe more than one inquiry about potential development out in that area along the Highway 75 bypass. And then finally getting up close to the Highway 2 corridor, you'll see there, we already know there's existing commercial development right along the corridor up there, but it's the idea of extending south from there, leaving the existing residential development alone, going all the way down to the next roadway. Again, these are long-term possibilities. The main reason to bring them up now is so that if there's an opportunity to influence what kind of thing might go on there, you kind of get your flag out there and say, hey, hang on a second, we really think this is long-term potential. We'd like to encourage you to do this as opposed to that. And that may only be talking with people. I don't know if you have any direct ability to influence it beyond that, but I'd like to at least leave these 5 areas out there as your long-range thinking for potential future growth. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about just briefly, we already just, Taylor mentioned the whole process of empowering small Minnesota communities that's been underway and is still going on. One of the things that they spent a lot of time on is the downtown and potential for redevelopment and activation. And what you see in the lower left on this slide is actually a map that highlights one of the ideas that came out of that process that I assume will still be in the final document when it's produced. But it's saying, what if we were to take a corridor that's not one of the major corridors, a cross-cutting street between the two one-ways, and turn it into a street that's aimed at more public activity. And one of the key points of that is to have a plaza on city-owned land that could be developed for multiple kinds of functions. If you look all across the state, actually across the nation, you see cities of many different sizes effectively making that kind of thing. I did a comprehensive plan for the city of Hazen that had a population of about 2,500 15 years ago. One of the things that they wanted to do is to create this activity space in their downtown. They had one empty lot. And that was something that they had some good coordination and activity development within the city leadership to turn it into a nice looking space. It was a little pocket park almost, but it was also set up in a way that allowed small concerts to happen there. And they were doing that all summer long. You know, when the weather was decent, they were turning that space into this activity space. And it got so big that they outgrew the space. They had to take some of those events and move them to a bigger spot in the city. And I think there's a start small and build on success kind of approach that you can adopt for the ideas that are coming out of that small Minnesota Communities project that's still happening. I've left 3 bullet points there: pedestrian-friendly infrastructure and enhanced streetscapes. Your downtown Highway 2 redevelopment that's going to happen next year, I believe, is something that will facilitate that, and it's building on what that will accomplish for you by giving you some new hardscape. The historic and underutilized downtown places are something we talked about a lot. I'm kind of big on that. I really think that it really makes sense to take advantage of structures that are still in good condition and reuse them, and to do what you can to encourage that. We could talk about that for another hour, so let's move on from there. But then I already mentioned public gathering places and venue for public events. Next slide, please. I already mentioned the reconstruction of the one-way pair, and the different changes that are happening to the streetscape there. The transportation, traffic, major observation that I made last time I was here is that you're fortunate, from my perspective, to have all the traffic coming through Crookston instead of around it. And so, when I look at the major, the highest traffic counts, that there, it's not all through downtown. You're getting the highest traffic counts kind of at the edge of Highway 2 and the city, but still, there's just an awful lot of traffic that comes through your downtown, and I think you should do everything you can to make it for that.
Are you also going to be presenting to us after we have a copy of this, as the mayor was asking previously? So that we have a time to actually ask questions after reading through your plan? Or is your plan to simply provide us with this over summary and then not revisit us again?
My intent had been to have the next thing where you would ask questions be at the planning commission hearing. But I would provide you all with the document way in advance so that you could ask questions. And if you need me to come back for a meeting like that, I can do that.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, next, please, slide. Another of the planning activities that has gone on that you just completed back in February, I think, was the approval of the Crookston Active Transportation Action Plan. And on the right-hand side, you see the map that shows the major incorporation of the proposed future trails and also listing of a bunch of projects there. So I won't spend any time talking about that. But the recommendations that we get to will allude to this project as well. Next slide.
You said proposed trails, these are hiking trails, these are new trails, is that right? You said trails.
Yes, I did say trails.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yep.
These are new trails.
Yes, go back one slide, I guess, please. So on the left-hand side, what's not very visible to me from this distance is where the existing trails are. But there are a lot more trails that are being proposed. There are different colors based on their kind of plan that they're coming out of, but the purple right here is an existing trail. The green right here is a joint active transportation ESMC route. To connect the college down to the downtown area, and there's the same kind of thing being proposed out to the east of town and the west of town.
These would be walking and you could use bikes on them, is that?
Yep, yeah. The active transportation, the way I understand it, is really rolling and walking. So whether it's bikes or
Non-motorized.
lawnmowers, did you say?
Non-motorized.
Yes.
Because motorized vehicles have wheels too.
Yeah, and the plan that you already adopted is showing up on your website. It's 119 pages long. There's a lot of material in there that's about the idea of safety and designing your streets to be friendly for people who are walking or biking as opposed to being those that are mostly just aimed at the vehicles. So there was a whole separate process for involving citizens and walking on it, and several other activities that were done to generate the plan recommendations. Yes. I should probably double check with you, but that was my interpretation of what I read.
That's what I've understood from Common Accords too.
Actually, active transportation would not include e-bikes.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, thank you for
However, that would have to, be a council decision, I suppose, on whether or not they were allowed on multi-use paths. I don't know if we have a current ordinance on that.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next slide, please. There was a major effort done to review the recently completed housing plan and then use the updated forecasted information to regenerate a housing plan for you. The major thing I want to show you on these two slides is you can see in the lower left, this is for rental property. It's that lowest income category that has the challenge where we think you're going to run short on having available needed rental property. And then next slide, please. The owner households, we see two areas where there's a potential for falling short from the future or the projected need. And one of them is in the 100 to 120% of the median household income. And the other is in the 51% of the median household income. Or it might be, yeah, that's median household income. I'm not sure if it's for the area or for the city.
Can I ask, can we move?
Yeah, Joe, we can't see the text on these. The resolution is just not good enough. I mean, I've just asked Morgan and Henry, they can see it, because I can't see it, and they can't read anything on there either.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, in the future, when people give presentations, can we all get copies of it so we can follow along on our computer?
We just received a copy before the meeting. Otherwise we would have called you.
Can we ask that it not be presented at the meeting until we do get a copy?
Just get it before.
Yes, I apologize. I should have thought back to that from the last meeting.
I think it's more of a city issue than you. I think it's just that our screens are so small.
So I do want to just highlight the main points that I want to draw from that. This is for the owner housing, that there's a couple different income brackets where we think you're going to run short in a substantial way. And that, I know before Carrie left, was one of the major points she was pleased to see that we also concluded, because that was her perspective as well. Taylor, you want to add anything to that? Okay.
So we have a shortage of $500,000 and $1 million homes. The consensus is Crookston is not a poor community. It's in need of more wealthy spaces for the wealthy to stretch their wealth.
There's the expectation that those are the areas in the future that will be short.
Sure, right.
And right now, we're not trying to tell you what it is right now. But on the same hand, the other end of the spectrum, it's those who have the lowest income that are gonna be the greatest need on the rental side.
You can continue on, I just can't see, sorry.
Okay, thanks. All right, next slide, please.
By the way, I'm emailing you guys a copy of this too, if you wanna check your emails. I'm working on that right now.
You'll have a copy of it.
Pardon me?
Oh, I said, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, so what I'd like to do is just dive right into the recommendations that are at the end of the draft plan. These relate to land use. There's 6 or 7 of them, and I'm gonna take the time to read them to you. I know you can read, but it's just maybe because it'll make it simpler. And in addition to that, after I finish those for each slide, I would like to ask if you have any questions or like any further explanation about them. So the first recommendation is to adopt the future land use map that we were earlier discussing as Crookston's North Star for future development guidance. So in other words, that's the big picture view of where we anticipate you would want to see the different kinds of future growth happen. The plan shows where the vacant land was in the existing land use and where infill could happen in the future if you were to turn those into mostly residential. So that brings to the second bullet, identify vacant or never developed infill parcels in strategic locations and promote them for needed development types as specified by the future land use map. So one of the main things to say about this is simply that if we can use infill, we save on infrastructure costs because it's already there. And there may be properties that are in poor condition where the smart move is to actually start over on those.
What percentage of our land is actually in that category? Because that's a general statement that could be applied to any city, but specifically to Crookston. Where do we fall in that percentage-wise? Are we talking just, we've talked about parcels of land, but is it 1 or 2, or are they small or large? Or?
They're generally small parcels, and I do have a total number of vacant for residential here, if I can get that pulled up for me. 7.67% of the land is vacant.
That's a good percent. Thank you.
Vacant now, not claimed or actually vacant?
Actually vacant.
Actually, thank you.
So the next bullet, use a strategy of value-driven incremental improvement to community redevelopment. Each word is important there. I want to make the analogy to how cities used to grow. They used to start at their core, sometimes developed at a crossroads or along a railroad tracks, but when that city started, it started with this small area, and there was a commercial core or a commercial and industrial core to it, which needed the transportation, and residential development happened out from there, generally speaking. And as the city continued to grow, that core continued to redevelop. So the higher value stayed in the center as that was just the pattern that we have typically seen. But what has happened in the last 50 years is that instead we do suburban development where you basically start over and create a mini city almost at the edge of your city. And that's one of the things that does is it ends up costing more in terms of your infrastructure cost, and your downtown or your core starts to become less valued. And so this thought behind this particular bullet point is that you can do incremental redevelopment or development within the core and increase the value of your property without doing the extension of utilities. And if you are strategic about it by considering the city's benefit from increased value versus their costs, there's a way to think about this and do it that's not so typical from what we've seen in the last 50 years. The fourth bullet, identify strategic portions of the extraterritorial area that Crookston can feasibly service and proceed with annexation when the timing is appropriate. Well, we just saw that map where I was showing you the two colors, industrial and commercial, on the fringes of the city, outside city limits. That's the area we're focusing on. You may find other areas that are equally or better suited for development before the time comes where you actually need to do that annexation to provide for additional growth areas for your city. But it's asking again for you to think strategically about it. Most of the time it's hard to start doing projects for infrastructure extension in multiple directions at once. So for instance, if that area along Highway 75 bypass seems like that's where the hottest interest is and you can count on good development there, extending infrastructure out that way could allow it to serve the industrial and to serve the potential future commercial that was just above it. If you remember that slide that showed the northwest corner outside city limits as a future growth area. Questions on these? Okay, next slide, please. 3 more bullet points about land use. Identify strategic portions of downtown to promote mixed-use buildings or parcels as specified by the future land use map. That may be misspoken because it's more about, as I specified in the future land use plan, than it is the map itself. Because the map doesn't provide a lot more detail, it just says treat it as mixed use. The plan itself talks more about a lot of different things that could be done, things that came out of the Empowering Small Minnesota Communities project in particular. But it's not just that project. You have done at least 2 or maybe 3 previous studies over the last few years that also focused on different parts of downtown and made similar recommendations, all aimed at this concept of we can do more with our downtown. Okay, the middle bullet there, develop a downtown activation strategy that addresses land use and development patterns, economic development and revitalization, safety and multimodal mobility, enhance public spaces, and increased residential use. when I was sharing what I was thinking about for this area with Taylor earlier, it was starting to feel like the tail was wagging the dog because there was so much work that had been done on downtown. So I pared about a page of stuff down to that one bullet point. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of good thinking out there for ways to tackle downtown activation using these topic areas in the process. And I'm happy to share, well, Taylor already has it, but I'm happy to talk about that at another time if you'd like to. And then the last bullet point, utilize zoning changes and overlays or other policy tools to encourage and promote the addition of civic, commercial, and retail uses downtown. Zoning is oftentimes a hindrance instead of a help to development. It's not like you want to do it in zoning, but there's value in rethinking what you're really trying to accomplish and tweaking your zoning ordinances. And in the downtown area, I think there's an opportunity for you to do that. I am saying that not because I've done a detailed analysis of your zoning, but because that's just generally what I see in communities that have been around for quite a while. They haven't updated their zoning to address some of the challenges that they face today. All right, next slide, please. The next major topic area in the plan is transportation and utilities. We do not spend much time talking about them, but these bullet points come out of it. Improve safety for people walking and bicycling throughout Crookston. Well, where's that coming from? It's partly coming out of that active transportation planning project you just finished. Next bullet, improve comfort and wayfinding for people walking and bicycling throughout Crookston through consideration of active transportation needs when roadway segments are due for design and reconstruction. So the point here is not just, well, yes, we want to make our community safer and good for walking and bicycling. It's being really thoughtful. Do we have a project that's an infrastructure project coming up? Okay, let's not forget to think about what improvements should we incorporate in that to enhance our pedestrian and bicycle mobility.
Does any of your analysis consider winter, when people are walking, bicycling outside?
There's nothing that's a recommendation there that's aimed at winter at all. It's looking just at the overall potential for more
spring.
I think there's also a good chunk of our population that walks and rides bikes throughout the winter.
The next bullet, regularly seek opportunities to implement the 23 recommended active transportation improvements of the Crookston Active Transportation Action Plan. Going back to the 119 pages I was alluding to earlier. I don't want to put the whole thing in here. That's its own plan. You've already approved it. But it's a reminder for you all that this is part of what seems appropriate based on your approval of that document. Establish or use the complete streets approach throughout Crookston by establishing the policies recommended in the Crookston Active Transportation Action Plan. There's a lot of different components to what complete streets are. That plan actually spans around 10 pages explaining it. Right-size the expected growth of roadways and sidewalk trail networks to the anticipated growth and change in Crookston as identified in the future land use plan. You cannot expect to do capital improvements all at once. But what you can do, as I was saying at the beginning of our presentation, is you can take small steps and work along the path of completing the whole plan. And so this is just aimed at recognizing when you're making changes to your roadways, consider what you can do that will help complete segments that are incomplete now. There are multiple cities that have gaps in their sidewalk system or in their trail system. And the trails plan that came out of both the active transportation plan and the emerging small Minnesota communities planning process really aim at creating a network so that it serves the whole community. And then the last bullet, plan strategic expansion of utility service to annex portions of the city if the anticipated revenues forecast appropriately subsidize the expansion. And again, expand incrementally. Don't aim at doing suburb style redevelopment or development. Next slide. I talked about some of the major findings from the housing analysis we did. We have 6 recommendations related to housing. Understand the condition and needs of existing homes and use regulatory levers to improve them. In addition to code enforcement, the Crookston Housing Incentive Programs and the rental registration program should be utilized to keep existing homes in good condition. Maintaining your quality of your housing infrastructure is a critical thing to helping maintain the reputation of your community. So think about ways that you can encourage people to take care of their homes and incentivize it. Consider if another formal program is needed to assist existing residents to age in place. This should be focus on keeping seniors in their long-time homes, even when modifications like installing ramps in place of steps and adapting kitchens or bathrooms would be needed. I don't have a handle on formal programs that are already out there that you can replicate, but I have a couple of people that work with me that are focused on that kind of transportation needs, basically dealing with walking and ADA and similar things. I think I made a point of this last November, but keeping your seniors in your community is a really big part because it helps to keep their money in your community. And they have a role to play in encouraging the future. I mean, they're here now because they're vested in this community. So how can you work with them to keep them here? The last bullet, plan for and promote new housing development in vacant infill sites. If buildable and available sites in town become limited, then look at annexation of additional land for new housing development. We didn't identify any areas for future residential growth beyond that 1 square on the southeastern side of town. Outside city limits, that is. But there may be others. Next slide, please. Evaluate zoning ordinance changes that encourage creative approaches to housing development, including Crookston's downtown. So I already talked about the potential to perhaps enhance or make it more easy for people to redevelop in downtown. Another thing that is out there is just looking at what your current zoning is in certain parts of your community where it might sort of prevent some of the developers from actually feeling like they can make it pencil out. I've worked with other communities where just a change in their setback requirements has been enough to make a difference. Promote the construction of smaller format home types. These would help supply catch-up to local demand among smaller and asset-limited households, and in some unit types may be developed in conjunction with commercial space as in a mixed-use project. Again, downtown is one of those opportunities, but there are other possibilities as well. If you can double your value of a parcel, of a building because it's got a second floor that's containing residential development, it's just an efficiency thing from a development standpoint. Cultivate and maintain partnerships with large employers, home builders, and all levels of government. The local housing market is dynamic and collaboration built on effective partnerships is critical to promote and advance what Crookston needs from all its residential market, for all its residential market. Again, it's just a general statement, but we see it across the footprint where we work that you don't do things all by yourself, especially as state or federal funding seems to be drying up. You have to find ways to partner. And looking, there are people who are vested in your region who may be willing or maybe already have a program that could help you.
What do you mean by the local housing market is dynamic? Are you just saying that houses are moving, it's hard to find a house? Why did you use that terminology there?
It's availability and option.
I didn't ask you, Bishop. Thank you.
The main thing that I'm thinking about is that the demand will continue to change. You've got older people who are growing older, maybe wanting to downsize. You've got people who may be wanting to move in, they work remotely, they're starting to have kids, and they would just as soon be here.
Just meaning that the demand is great for housing.
Yes, and it's gonna continue to change. Changes, maybe more than anything, it's volatile. What's going on in the lending market, what's the interest rates? All those kinds of things factor into whether it's getting easier or harder to find out. Other questions about housing? Okay, next slide, please. Under parks and community facilities, again, we didn't spend much time analyzing anything about parks and community facilities, but we did put in a bullet point here or two that relate again to active living, and I'd refer to the active living document to think about how you might want to promote that. Because part of that is not just streets, it's also your community facilities and your parks. The third bullet, encourage to explore additional non-motorized connections that link residents to open space, et cetera. And trail networks, including the Agassiz Recreational Trail. There are 2, at least, maybe more, regional trail systems in the vicinity. It would be great to be able to connect to as many of them as you can. That's not just a Crookston thing, but it's thinking about things in a partnership again. Next slide. City service and operations. We're stepping out on a limb a little bit here, but generally when you have a smaller community, a lot of times what you see is this revolving door of people coming and going and hiring. And anything you can do to support their desire to stay in your community, whether that's by helping to educate them or giving them more responsibility, helping them to feel like they're really a significant part of how your community can become a better place are important. Pursue opportunities to utilize creative and traditional financial mechanisms such as public-private partnerships, TIF districts to support redevelopment and infill opportunities in Crookston. We didn't do a lot of research on this, but we're just saying it's something where when you're thinking about your own operations, remind yourselves to look for all the options, not just the traditional ones or the ones you've been using. And finally, continue to use capital maintenance strategies to maximize the useful life existing facilities and capital investment planning to prepare for future facility replacement. I don't know the extent to which you do capital planning now, but it's mostly a reminder to say, if it's a big cost, it's worthwhile planning for it and not become surprised by it. The last thing we have here is a reference to economic development. Align economic development strategies with regional comprehensive economic development strategy process upon completion of that plan. Isn't that done now? I wonder if this is old.
I believe it just wrapped up within the last month, maybe 6 weeks.
Yes, so I'll change the wording on that, but it's still a matter of utilizing it and collaborating with the partners who are part of the SETS planning process. Finally, we listed some points here that relate specifically to economic development that show up in a policy statement in the plan. And we recognize your community is in this agricultural area, that you have technology and advanced manufacturing opportunities, and we're encouraging that continued support and innovation in those areas. It's collaborating with everybody you can to try to find ways to become active and a draw for future economic growth. When you go back to downtown, I know one of the ideas that has come out was the idea of creating spaces for entrepreneurial startups or providing office space or other kinds of technical support to to help with people who are trying to start businesses in your community. Effective small community businesses grow and become mainstays of your community if they get a chance. The last bullet here, adjust initiatives based on needs identified by regional, state, and federal partners. It's another thing about the dynamic world we live in. We're always needing to be thinking about what's happening and what we need to do to respond to it. Those are the pieces that are in the plan's recommendations. If you have any other questions you want to ask of me right now, I hear your comment about wanting to read this through. We will get you a draft document, but I will incorporate anything I heard tonight. Okay, I have one more problem that I'd love you guys to help me solve. I think there's value in having a title to your document that actually has a sense of vision to it, a sense of purpose. This is what we're about. Next slide, please. So at one time, we were thinking about using the term Crookston in motion, but I don't know that that flew very well or was already being used by something else. Then I landed on the idea of saying empower Crookston. But guess what? You guys already have an organization about empowering Crookston. So working with Taylor and Ashley, we were brainstorming about something else that would create a sense of the need to think forward and be bold about planning for your future. And we ended up with embolden Crookston. Now, I would guess that's something that some of you will say, what? And others of you will say, yeah. Anyway, we are still looking. And I would love it if you creative minds who know this community and care about this community would propose something. We would happily make it the title. What we have right now in the whole document, when we send you the whole document, is one page that kind of focuses on vision. And you will see that right now we're using that term embolden to try to describe things that we observe in your community and what you may want to do that is emboldening yourselves to grow and be prepared for the future. I will not take any more of your time. I appreciate the time you've given me. Is there any last comments or questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank
Is
you.
it possible to get this on next month's planning then in June?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's fully our intent to do that.
perfect, thank you.
And then to send it to you before that meeting, because that meeting is the second or third Tuesday. So I would rather give you this draft document within the next 2 weeks so that you can share comments or feedback, and we would provide it to the planning commission as well, so that everybody can have comments at that meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Could the planning commission board get a copy of this too?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, yeah,
Thanks very much.
very good. City planning, application demonstration.
Let's see here. Okay, next up is active transportation demonstration project, and that is up on Barrett.
Hello again. Firstly, I want to correct a statement I made a few minutes ago about the active transportation bike. It does include e-bikes. So, thank you, Wendy. Yes, it does include e-bikes. So that's that. Tonight I'm here to talk to you about the active transportation planning project, specifically the demonstration project. So we did wrap up the plan earlier this year. That's available on the city website for your perusing at any time. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out to me. But what I wanted to show you guys today is this map that Keenan's put up on the screen for us. We're looking at a view of Barrett Street in Crookston next to Ray Eklund Park. So the way this map is oriented, if you're looking at the screen, the right-hand side is actually north. So where the intersection with the 4 red arrow-looking shapes, that's the north side of the drawing, and then the south side of the drawing is opposite on the left-hand side. So this demonstration project extends from the intersection of Central Avenue and Barrett Street, and then goes down to, I believe it's the Cathedral on the south side. So what we're looking at, these red markings along the intersection and a couple spots on the south end of the street are what's considered bump outs or extended curbs. And they just are painted onto the street to shorten the distance that a pedestrian is in a lane of traffic as they cross the street. Included in the demonstration project, in addition to painting those extended curbs, are new painting for crosswalks, as well as along the Ray Eklund Park side of the street, an 8-foot pedestrian and bicycle pathway, essentially. That would be, you have a question?
Can I just clarify that we're gonna eliminate over 900 feet of direct access parking to the baseball and field and tennis courts?
Temporarily, yes. Yes. So that's the beauty of a demonstration project, is it's a temporary installation. So there will be flex posts placed periodically along the Ray Eklund Park side to kind of delineate that pedestrian pathway. And then there will be paint, and those are the materials that'll be used, as well as some additional signage. Our tentative date, weather permitting, is June 1st to do this installation, and then everything kind of permanent, like the signage and the flexi posts, would be removed in the fall before it snows. And I do want to shout out Scott and Chuck. Parks and Rec and Public Works have been involved in the design of this plan, and so they've been a big help in kind of talking through with me and the consultants from MnDOT what's possible, what's within the city's capacity to actually do with this project that MnDOT is providing for us. So yeah, we're looking at a tentative install date of June 1st. We are going to be looking for about 8 to 12 community volunteers. So if any council members or your families are interested in doing some curb painting in the morning on June 1st, it's a Monday, let me know. We'd love to have you out there. But are there any other questions kind of on the design or how we got to this project? Well, if you do have questions, you know how to contact me, I trust.
Thank you.
And I'll just stay here, I've got the next one too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, the industrial park business development public infrastructure discussion.
Yes. So as you all know, we received a federal U.S. Economic Development Administration grant to build infrastructure out at the Coburn property or the industrial park. This is the same property where you just approved a farm lease for this year. So this property, what we're looking to do is apply for state funding to help cover some of the city's share of the project cost. And so to do that, we will be asking you at the next council meeting to approve a resolution. And so after talking with Darren and John, we thought it might be a good idea to just have a little discussion this evening and bring some things to your attention. The resolution language is provided by the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. And within the resolution, we have to identify where the city's match funds will be coming from, and saying a bond is not allowed. So what we've done, working with John, is he's identified where the funding can come from. So he's identified 2 funds. It is the water fund, and there is he's calling it the Ag Innovation Park Fund. I believe it was previously under a different name, but it is for that purpose. And so the amount that we are committing through this resolution is approximately $3 million. And that's to go along with our $750,000 request from the state. So once we put this resolution in front of you, we'll be asking you to approve committing those funds just until we issue the bond. Once the bond is issued, the funds are no longer committed to this grant purpose. It's just for the purpose of being able to apply, essentially. So we wanted to at least give you guys a heads up so that when we come back at the next meeting, and say, please approve us committing $3 million, you weren't caught off guard. But do you have any questions about that?
So how does this come out of our?
It doesn't.
No.
So all we have to, basically what we have to do to, like Taylor said, we have to show that the city has funds available or resources available other than a bond to apply for this grant. Once we, if we get the grant, there's options that we could, accept it or not. Our intent is always to bond for this, so we will never use those funds. We just need to show that that there's a funding source other than a bond. But then once that's done, we will apply for a bond for this project. So we'll never use those funds. We just have to show that we have those funds available.
Then the follow through of the bonding piece, when we do, we can, it's like interest payment only for X amount of years.
Yep, so we do have the option, we can issue a temporary bond, which is an interest-only payment for 3 years, with the option to extend that period for an additional 3 years, for a total of 6 years where we'd be paying interest only. After, that's the limit that the state puts on it, you can only do 2 3-year temporary bonds essentially. And at that point, we would issue a long-term bond. And there are a few different varieties of those, but they all function about the same.
So it's possible too, then after, let's say, 6 years of interest only, we'd have some development out there where we would be collecting property tax could go for paying the bond payment.
Yes, that is the
The goal.
intention, the goal, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on this?
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Diocese property discussion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry, I lost my page. So, just wanted to touch base on this in the Tri-Valley project again here. I'll go through them quick, just looking for a little direction on both projects. So, on the Diocese here, as we previously discussed, the city currently has a contract with the Diocese through January 20th of 2027, which allows us to purchase that property at an established price, or allows us first right of refusal on that property if it was to go up for sale or an offer was made on that sale prior to the end of our contract. So Diocese project is kind of 2 parts. One is the developer to purchase and develop the property, and then for the city to work with the developer on future development. So we've been consulting with our city engineers on this project. We do have a draft RFP complete. However, we're in the point of the process where it would be helpful, moving forward, I think, to have an assistance in providing recommendations for this project. So to do that, I'm looking to establish or asking to establish a steering committee, which ideally would, include a couple of members of council. So basically, a steering committee would be 2 members of council, a member from the EDA, Public Works Director, our finance director at the applicable points, city administrator, and then a city engineer representative. The goal of the steering committee would be to, among others, but just kind of hit the high points, would keep the project moving moving forward by establishing timelines, identify and develop priorities or housing types, such as a few examples, whether it's single housing, high-end housing near the golf course, senior or retirement housing, twin homes, other or a combination of all. To work as a group to identify and have clarity for evaluating financial assistance to potential developers, whether that's offering a TIF district, or what other options the city might be able to provide, or how we can partner with that developer. Moving forward would be to review the RFP to make sure it aligns with our city goals and our comprehensive plan. What we could do to attract qualified developers to that project. Publish that RFP after developing evaluation criteria for scoring the RFP. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. There's other things involved. I just kind of try to hit the high points on what we have left and what we'd like to do to move forward with that. So I guess I'm looking for direction on a couple items. Is one, just so we're on the same, are we still interested in moving forward with this project and doing that? And then two, I'm not exactly sure how you'd like to select that, Mayor, but I guess I would be looking for 2 council members to serve on a steering committee to kind of help us with these decisions, suggestions, that moving forward. You know, it's a big project, there's a lot of moving parts to it, and sometimes it easily just gets kind of decisions or ideas through, you know, just the administrator or other staff. It would be nice to get some input from council that could be a liaison back to those wards and to the city of Crookston.
Well, I think it's, for starters, I think it's, you know, it's, the property's already developed, we got mature trees and everything else down there. I think it'd be prime property to try to do the next housing development. I mean, we have, you know, land around the CSC that it's gonna take a lot of money to just put the infrastructure in. It's privately owned on the south end, as far as lots out there. I think if, you know, we could get the RFP out, get a developer interested in this property. Still some moving parts on that end, but I think it's a win-win if we can get that parcel developed into a attractive housing area.
Where's this property at south of Cathedral?
This is the Diocese property, sorry, I'm Memorial Drive,
It's
just prior to the.
by the cemetery,
Oh, okay.
right next to the golf course.
Yeah, the north side of that property.
This is something that we've been talking about in the EDA for a while now, and discussing
We
there.
have brought it up a few times. We
Had a long
even discussed the option if, you know, what do we do if we didn't have an interested developer on that property? You know, is that something the city looks to purchase or something else? You know, if it fits within our comp plan and everything else we're likely looking to do, so. Again, I just wanted more direction. I would like some input, you know, from council, people moving forward, and, you know, there isn't gonna be a significant engineering cost in this moving forward, but there is going to be a cost there, of course, so. Again, just a direction on how we'd like to move forward, before we do start, you know, spending any additional funds or anything on this property right now.
So on this property, if it's done by a developer, is there a timeline going to be set for construction of homes? Because we had an issue a few years ago where there was going to be a development of 4 twin homes, and there was only one there.
Yeah.
Several years ago.
Well, that was a private party. I think with this, I think it would be maybe, you know, I'm not an expert on it, but I think it'd be in our best interest to have a TIF on this property to maybe encourage a developer to come in. Yeah. You know, without doing a little more research and homework on that piece of it, but I think that would be a carrot in the developer's pocket to possibly develop something in this property. I hear there's room for roughly 40 homes down there, you know, and it's kind of a open template. We can do kind of any kind of housing we want down there. You know, maybe some mixed use of a little bit of everything to make it attractive to that property.
I agree with you, Clayton. I think there needs to be some type of commitment or letter of intent, you know, maybe on a build out. I wouldn't, maybe a few houses to start or something.
No, the thing is, like I said, it's development that that party got, the private person got a deal on that property on the condition that there was going to be 4 twin homes, and that was.
And I think some of that too would scale on, you know, phases, and different things, like you said, because it's such a large property.
A developer's also gonna have the knowledge over us of what the market wants and what people are buying and where that is. I mean, you see that happen everywhere. I think that there is a need for housing. You see when new houses go up, they sell very quickly and very fast. And they are, I mean, the last 2, the EDA did, I mean, they were close to $500,000 and they sold before they were done. So that, I mean, clearly there is that market out there. I would like to see us move forward. We can sit here and do nothing and then just continue to be like, why is our tax base not going up and why is that? And yes, we put on a TIF on it for 10 years, but there's also, we do nothing now and 10 years from now, we're saying, well, why don't we do something? And there's still nothing there. I mean, we have to do something, or else it's just the definition of insanity.
Discussed it a few times, like that project when years ago that I took advantage of, where city owned the land and they give the lot for free, and there was 2-year tax, I think 2 or 3 year tax abatement, I can't remember, but then, that seemed to work pretty well up in my neck of the woods. So can't we take this whole area here and do something like that?
Like us purchase it and do it? Just us develop it?
Well, no, get somebody to do it, but I mean, the land would be, given to them if they build a house and they put a down payment on and it goes towards the purchase of the house, and we work with a single developer, just like we did up in my neck of the woods.
Was there roads and infrastructure already there?
Yes.
Yes.
Which there isn't here. So us going with a developer and us putting a TIF takes the responsibility of us putting that infrastructure and those roads and those sewers and those waters out, that puts that on that developer.
See, and I think too with the TIF, and then with the developer, we're not responsible for the infrastructure, we just basically are cutting the developer a check once a year.
I mean, that's another reason the steering committee to answer questions like that, explore ideas like that.
Yeah.
It just, once you kind of get working on these and, it's just not as simple as publishing an RFP, having the direction, ideas, what we'd like to do. To answer Clayton's question, what does it look like for, build outs, answer your question, things like that. So, we don't have a lot of time, but we do have some time where we can work on that a little bit as a group, I think, so.
The Cheetah Board talked about this at length and lots of ideas. I think the consensus there was it's a great property of immense value. We have right of refusal, the money seems reasonable. If I were to go buy that myself, it would be I think it's listed at $900-something thousand, but the city can get it for $700,000 something, so it's a $200,000 deduction, if you will. But we had talked about, is it gonna be mixed homes, high-end homes, low-end homes, and mixed? It was a robust discussion, but my takeaway from those discussions, of which there were many, was that something like this should move forward. The unsettling piece was what happens if someone actually makes an offer on it, because we're not ready. And that's fine if we don't want to do anything. Then it's just gonna go to someone else and whatever they're gonna do with it. My thought is, I think we should go forward with this. I think it's a great, having a steering committee to help, you're swamped with what you're doing already, Darren.
But it just tells you, it's nice to get that input.
Yeah, to get from the local community, I think would be great.
I also think if we put it forward, then we have an idea of what the market is for developers too. If nobody bites, then we have an idea. I mean, again, they have a much more knowledgeable idea of what the market currently is today.
And if nobody bites, then
We have to have a contingency plan, right?
Yeah,
If we're gonna buy it or let.
if we buy it or not. I mean, we don't have to buy the spot to put out the RFP. So.
Potentially lay groundwork for future lots like Washington School.
So I just feel that, I know the contract with the diocese, they were looking for an RFP and what our direction was a year ago, and thanks to Darren and his staff to get this back on the table with the diocese, give us another year extension. So by the end of this year, they're gonna want some kind of game plan out of us if we're still interested in the property. So consensus is to move forward with it?
Yes.
Yes.
So, okay, the next question is being on a steering committee. I mean, I'm willing if nobody else is.
I would be willing.
So what, Morgan and just want two?
I mean, I don't have a set number.
I would sit in, but maybe Morgan and then Clayton can bring back the information to the council. So you know that Morgan and Clayton, and I'd sit in just because I'm nosy. So, but they would be the kind of liaisons to bring stuff back to council. Sounds good?
Yeah.
That work work for you, Darren?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Good on this piece?
Yep.
All right, the last one is the Tri-Valley discussion.
So again, attached to your council packets, dated April 30th, 2026, is the most current estimate of the demolition cost for Tri-Valley Building. I think we've discussed this before at previous Ways and Means. At that point, we kind of had a high level estimate of those engineering costs. This estimate here is revised after city engineers had an opportunity to conduct an on-site evaluation of that property. So we look at that estimate broken down into several categories, which detail the costs of each category, such as on the left side, permits. You scroll down, utilities, traffic control, demolition, and then the reconstruction of that property. The total range of the project detailed in two categories at the bottom, or two columns, which are kind of summarized in like a winter demo and a summer demo. The methodology or thought behind this, you know, just working with our engineers and other projects that they've helped with, is that it may be cheaper to demo the building in late fall, early winter, as many or a lot of contractors are busy with projects that can only be completed during the summer months. So it is, you can kind of see some of those, the high end, low end, and median average on some of those estimates. But I mean, if you do take the worst case scenario, depending on the RFPs that we get returned, it could be around, you know, high end 1.2 million to demo that project. So I guess the next step of demo this project would be, for us, we would need to complete an archaeological report. This is needed because of the age of the Tri-Valley building and because it's located in the historic district of downtown Crookston. That archaeological report would then need to be submitted to the Minnesota Historic Preservation Office for approval, the acronym of SHPO. Once that's done and back, we could publish the RFP with hopefully like a project deadline of mid-April 2027, or for sure before the state starts the Highway 2 reconstruct project. In the meantime, we continue to be working on a funding source to pay for this project. Currently, the two in front of us that we're looking at is there's a demolition loan program through Minnesota Deed. It's a loan at about 2%. It's interest free for the first 2 years. The amortization can be up to 15 years. We are looking at this, looking in detail, but some of the concerns with it is there are limited funds available. Applications are due August 1st, and the loan approval could take up to 4 months, putting us at the end of November, first part of December, which isn't ideal. The other option, and likely a better option, would be just to secure a bond for this project. Bond rates would be based on our city's bond rating. Currently, we don't have one because we haven't bonded since the 70s. However, we're debt free, and you know, I think after talking, you know, with Ellers and Todd Millers, I think we'd probably anticipate the bond to be somewhere between that 3.5% to 4.5%. Again, with an amortization of 15 to 20 years, depending how we structure that. The nice thing is a bond process would probably take about 60 days. So much sooner, we'd have answers much faster on that. So not a lot of difference in interest rate between the two.
So can we do both? Can we do the bond and then still move forward with the
loan to pay off the bond?
what?
The loan to pay off the bond, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, those are options we're looking at. Again, you know, this bond would be probably separate from anything else we would have, just the nature of it. You know, again, I think it's possible that we could look at a temp bond or something like that and kind of look at all our options. We would definitely look at that. And sometimes my understanding of that demolition loan, again, I have nothing to back this up more than just from experience from other people using it, is if we do get something, it's possible we won't get the full amount, you know, just portions of it. So again, we're looking at that and have the contingencies to pay for the other remaining portion of that. So again, I guess two-part, again, looking for direction to move forward. Does the city council still want to demo that project? Do we want to move forward with demolition? Or do we want to look at selling a property for redevelopment? Those are the two lingering.
You know, I think
a lot of people within our community are tired of old buildings just hanging around. And I just think if we're serious about, since I've been on the council, downtown development, I mean, this has gotta be something that we gotta get out of the way so we can move forward with that, so.
I drove by that building on the way over here, and just took a close look at it. It unfortunately has a horrible history of someone got hurt, and I understand that. You said what did you just say? Multiple people? I thought it was just one, I didn't know.
No, somebody died.
The corner across the way was decapitated too. It's common on these
It's been
internal corners all over throughout the
multiple
downtown area.
people have been hurt on and or killed.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know that. I wonder, given even this dire, this negative history, have we ever had a structural engineer take a look at it to see if there was any way to make that safe, the building itself?
They bumped it out.
The building itself, and I'm not an engineer, but ever since I've been a part of this, it's always been a discussion of just tear it down. It's very expensive, and I just wonder, has this body ever gone that direction to see, is there a way to make it safe? And I don't know the answer to that, and it's a question to this group.
I know when, excuse me, I worked for Troy Valley for 15 years. So, weatherization crew. There was some problems on the southwest corner of that building, and they dug out the sidewalk and reinforced it because it was settling. It's in need of demolition.
So there's a settling issue in addition to that, where the foundation is going.
Well, to repurpose that building to begin with is like hospitals and schools are the worst, try to repurpose into anything. And then when Jason, when they were making, their proposal or whatever to move across the street, their issue is that I think they'd rather pay rent because this building is basically to a point nickel diamond Tri-Valley. You kind of phase it as, it's like an old car. How much money do you continue to put into it before you get rid of it? So I think it'd be a lot more attractive for downtown. We do our corridors if that building was gone. We got issues, and who would be interested in that building? As a city, we're not. We've got an old junior high building that's sitting doing nothing. We have a Lincoln School building sitting doing nothing.
All I know is a member from Ward 1 made a pitch to this group for renovation, and that was denied. Are you shaking your head?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's worth, like, whatever they're gonna do, it's not worth keeping it up. Like, I mean, somebody has died there. We bumped it out to try to make it safe, and then a girl was vitally injured. Like, this is a safety concern. We don't need this here. This building, like, even if somebody like does something with it, it's a danger. We cut off a lane of traffic because it's a danger.
See, and I just feel that, if you're looking at long-range development too, it's being kicked around about having maybe the historical part of downtown being a TIF. So if that building is gone, yeah, you get down to the east part of that property, would it be more inviting for a developer, someone to put a commercial building on that corner with probably housing above, commercial below, something. If it stays, I think we're just gonna have issues trying to do, kind of future development even along Ash or coming up Broadmoor or Robert Street. So, it's my thought. So, further discussion, consensus is move forward with the demo.
demo.
Probably wanna go, demo?
Yes.
All right. I think that answers that issue. Okay, that is pretty much it for the night. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.